All right, we're gonna hope that you can hear me okay. My mic is being weird and I didn't have time to test it, so here we are. So anyway, hi, my name's Martha. I run this channel, and today we're gonna do a final book review of Blood of Hercules by Jasmine. All right, first of all, I left off on YouTube finishing with chapters 10 and 11, and a lot happens between then and now. Between 10 and 11, and then all the way up to like chapter 27, Alexis Hurt finishes the Crucible. She finishes the Crucible. Augustus and Charon start acting way more like tender and loving. They keep saying like you need to do this and protect. You shouldn't be putting synthetic lives in danger. And she keeps thinking that they're talking about her mentors because her mentors um were like, you need to win this so we become generals. And um Charon, whatever, however you say his name, was also threatened Alexis Hurt. It's like, if you die, if you kill yourself, if you hurt yourself, I will bring you back alive and torture you for the rest of eternity. So she got that threat early on. So she was thinking, like, every time they talk about these lies of the people who have the darker powers, she's like, oh, they're not talking about me. They're talking about the other her mentors so they can become generals and all of this. And she's like annoyed by it at this point because people keep telling her in different circumstances, like she keeps putting herself in danger, not on purpose. It just is what it is. Like she absolutely kicks the shit out of like three of her classmates in the Crucible because they were all being annoying. I mean, she literally beats somebody with a chair, throws up on the same person after beating them with a chair. She also sucker punches somebody and knees them in the balls. So, get it, queen. So she goes through that. A Titan gets on the loose in the Crucible circuit, and she puts herself into the position to fend it off, but she gets a really bad like scratch thing. She gets yelled at by Karen is like, she kind of just freezes up and tenses up because she goes back to the past into the foster care system when she was abused in the trailer park. And he's like freaking out because he didn't mean to like make her scared or anything like that. So a lot happens, but we end chapter 27. She's at the ball in January. So she's finished the Crucible. This ball is taking place to celebrate those who have finished the Crucible, and then they're going to graduate the same, like within a span of 12 hours, basically. Well, she's there, she's chilling, and it's a masquerade party, so you can't see people's faces. Some people have voice moderators, so you can't even necessarily tell who they are if they don't make themselves present. So her mentors take her, and she also at this point has met Helen, which is Augustus's sister, who he's very also protective of. But she is 16. She's very out there, very outgoing. She doesn't understand what the Crucible is. She's also annoyed by Augustus's overbearing protectiveness, and is like, I want to compete in the Crucible just like you, Alexis. Alexis is 19, and she was, basically threatened that her doing the Crucible was a dishonor to all Spartan women, and she kind of is like not sure what to say. So she's like, I don't think you should. I think you should like keep your honor. And Helen looks sad. So Alexis is like, or not, like, whatever works for you. So we go through that. They get to the ball. She's dressed up gorgeously, and her mentors are having a moment, but Achilles basically has to drag Patroclus, I can't say his name either, it's fine, away from her because he's like gonna make a scene, and he's trying not to make a scene, but he's probably gonna make one if Achilles didn't take him away. So she's kind of like out on her own because Helen is trying to move her around the room, get to socialize and all things. But then Helen somehow ends up leaving. So Alexis is trying to find a corner and maybe some food because there's like no food at this event and she's like dying. Also, up until this point, we think that she's still a part of House Zeus. There's been no evidence that we are made aware of that truly says that she's not a part of House Zeus. Um, so she ends up dancing with two strangers. They are not strangers. They are both the professors, and they're dancing, they're grinding. It's not even just like dancing, like they're grinding, they're touching, they're being very intimate and sexual. And then they say something. They're like, "Where are the diamonds?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm poor." And she's like, "I'm not ashamed to admit that, like, I come from a poor background, like, we live like, this is not like, I don't know what diamonds you're talking about, like, I don't have diamonds." And they're both like, "We sent them to you." And what they're referring to is back at the Crucible, she was sent 2 boxes. In those 2 boxes were body parts of men who had looked at her or touched her in a way that they did not find appropriate for a setting. An example is one of the other boys in the Crucible kissed Alexis, and she kind of just stood there and like let it happen. She was sitting on the couch trying to thaw because it's cold, and bro just like went, "That was nice. We should do it again sometime." And she was like, "Hmm, okay, well, you won't be doing that again sometime because he's dead, you know?" So his body parts were in a box, and so was one of the sirens at the I don't remember how to say that word, but at the basically like what we would have be like, it's not a strip club, but it's more than a strip club. You have naked people seducing each other and all things. And the Sirens are a group of people who have their own language. They can't speak other languages, but they understand a bunch of languages. But they are primarily used for sexual pleasure. But Alexis Hurt also finds out that she can talk to sirens just like she can talk to her snake. And she's finding out that she can talk to these people and these different creatures, and to her, it's just natural. Like she's just talking. She doesn't notice a difference in her language or the way her voice changes, or like what her voice sounds like. But when she's talking to the siren, the snake there, Nyx, is like, "Hey, since when could you speak siren?" And she's like, "I'm not. Like I'm just talking." She's like, "But you are." And she's like, "Well, what do I sound like?" And it's like deep breaths and weird like voice changes. So we find that out, and going back to the boxes, so she in one of the boxes was male parts of one of the sirens that she was hanging out with. It was Orion, something like that. And so he's in the box. And she, is also with these boxes. She has 2 notes. However, we find out the notes in the boxes are sent from 2 different people. The notes are threatening her that she needs to leave the crucible. They're like, seriously, you need to go. Like, you're going to regret it if you stay. So she thinks that the boxes and the notes are together, but they're not. We find out that her 2 professors, who are also the people that she's dancing with, also grinding with, are the ones who sent her the boxes. And apparently, under the boxes, which she buried, by the way, there was diamonds. And mind you, when she opened the box, the first thing on top was body parts. And she's like, "I thought there was something underneath," but she didn't look closer because, I mean, who else wouldn't be traumatized by random body parts in the box sent to her? Like, so she buried the boxes. So she didn't know there was diamonds in there. She just buried diamonds. But they're like, "Where are the diamonds?" And she's like, "I'm freaking broke. Like, what are you talking about?" They're like, "Well, we sent you diamonds." And she's like, "I don't know what you mean." So that all kind of like coagulates. Then I don't remember how she ends up dancing with the other professor, Professor Pine, but she ends up dancing with him, and he's like, now that you're out of the crucible, I can't wait to tell you basically that I'm attracted to you. And the reason he feels attracted to her, at least on the surface, is because he believes they were under similar circumstances where he has half mutt situation thing, and he was also born in the human world in less than ideal circumstances like Alexis Hurt. So he like feels very connected to her because of their similar circumstances in which they were born and brought into the world. But she's like, "Bro, we are not connecting on that. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me, we're not connecting on that." But he's all like, "Oh yeah, I'm like into you and I want you." And I'm just like, maybe not. Mm. And one of the 2 other professors who are trying to basically get her, which is Augustus and Charon, they were like, "Touch her, dance with her. We told you not to dance with her." They put like a knife to his throat, like, "We told you not to dance with her, and here you are." And she's just like the flippity flap flop. And then somebody yells, "There's a Titan." Not only does somebody yell that, Helen is running, or Alexis is running. Something happens, but Alexis and Helen both end up in a shed situation. And we also find this guy, this guy who has been sending the notes to Alexis Hurt at the Crucible, threatening her that she needs to leave. Guess who this is, y'all? It is the heir to the house of Zeus. Forget his name, starts with a T, but he's there. And he's like, I've basically he basically admitted to killing every single potential heir that's come along, and around them, Alexis starts to notice, like, there's human bones. He brings them to these shacks, okay, this one shack, and sorry, I'm like, "What the fuck?" He brings them to the shack, okay? He calls Titans because they're in a very unprotected zone where Titans are swarming. He will call the Titans over, the Titans eat the heirs, and that is how that he's been getting rid of them because beginning of the book, we hear about how House Zeus is having a fertility issue. But as Alexis Hart mentions, they're not having a fertility issue, they're having a murder issue, and he's murdering them. And so he's basically like, I wouldn't have to kill Helen, but she just had to come and jump with us. So here we are. It's going to be your fault that she dies. And Alexis is like, oh, great, because this is what I needed right now. She already hates life. She's over it. She doesn't understand why her professors are being this way. And now she has been placed in here. And she's like, first of all, we don't even have confirmation that she's part of House Zeus, okay? And second of all, um, she doesn't even like Zeus. She doesn't like Zeus. She doesn't like any of the people over there. She's kind of like over all of it. And so this guy comes along and is like, she's over it. So he disappears. He calls on the Titan before he disappears, but then he disappears and she hears it coming. It's like barreling across and she's trying to figure out what she's kind of panicking because she feels again in the same thing. In the first chapter of this book, we hear about her escaping, being tied up with rope by her foster dad. And the reason the how she escaped was she dislocated her thumbs by smashing them down on rocks. Ouch, by the way. She slipped them out and then ran away. And so she knows that's exactly what she has to do again because she's tied up. So is Helen. They can't escape. So she knows that she's going to have to dislocate her thumbs again by smashing them down and getting out. So she does. She she's like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I won't feel it, it's gonna be fine. So she like repeatedly smashes her hands down to dislocate her thumbs. She slips them out. She's very dizzy. She's trying hard not to dizzy because the Titan's like right there. She bolts to shut the door. The Titan's running in, and Helen has a knife in her underneath her dress, like in one of those they like go around the thigh and then you know what I'm talking about, or you don't, it's fine. But she has a knife. And so she runs over, grabs the knife with her mangled hands, tries to cut the very thick rope that Helen's attached to. And the Titan's like right outside. Like it's a very tension packed scene. Like there's a lot happening and Helen's like crying and it's all having a moment. And she finally gets Helen free. Titan bursts through the door. And so with a stroke of like, I have to get us out of here, she grabs Helen and she whispers the word Domus. It's spelled Domus, which is the word to get them to teleport. It's a teleportation system. So that's the first time she teleports, and she teleports herself and Helen back to the party. She shows up, both Karen and Augustus are like, "Where were you?" They realize the state she's in with her hands and everything. Are like, "Who did this to you?" And she's like, "While I appreciate your concern, this is not your anger." She storms over because she sees the guy, the heir of House Zeus, right up there on stage, looking all smug. She walks over there as fast as possible because he has his power is he can enact a shield, and if he enacts it, and blah, 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 if he what is that word? If he activates, there we go. If he activates it in time, no one will get caught in the shield. If he's fast enough, it'll just be him. But if he's slow enough or someone else is faster than him, he could lock somebody else in his shield with him so nobody can get in and they can't get out unless he takes his shield down. So she quickly tackles him before he can get his shield completely up. So now they're in this bubble together. They're in this lovely, like, I imagine a gold bubble together. Okay. This douchebag and her, who has an enormous amount of rightful feminine rage at this point, because, like, what is this? So she punches him, does the things. He's attacking her. And then he's yelling, she's like, you should arrest her and all that, like, whatever. So she finally then activates her powers. She doesn't know she's activating her powers because she didn't know she had a power, but we do get glimpses of it throughout the book where she's like, "My chest tightens. a lot. Her chest tightened when the kid died in the river on their first round of the crucible of the circuit. She thought she was trying to help him. She was like, "You know, you gotta go, we gotta go." She thought Sharon, whatever, Taryn was killing the boy, but it was actually her. She didn't know that, but she had tightness in her chest. And the reason we point that out is because those who have the darker powers, who are labeled under the C thing, symphonics, whatever, however you say that, their power comes from their heart and their chest. So when they activate theirs, it comes from their chest. And when the Olympians activate their powers, it comes from their head. Hi, whoever joined. Welcome in. I'm like ranting about Blood of Hercules and the final review for that. And so Olympian's powers come from their head, and the symphonic powers come from their chest. So she didn't know that she was going to be activating her powers. And so she did, and he starts foaming at the mouth and gurgling and doing all of the things that she's seen happen before. It happened in the arena when people were fighting to the death for this crucible. It happened to the boy who drowned. It happened at the symphyonism where all the sirens were, and one of the girl sirens that she was chilling with, she accidentally killed her. This has happened before, but now it's actually happening to this guy. Fun fact, I'm trying to like keep all my thoughts together. So it's happening to this guy, and not Achilles, Patroclus walks over and is like trying to talk to her through the shield because he can't touch her. So he's like, "Hey, I need you to breathe. I need you to calm down. I need you to like look at me, focus on me, release the easiness from your chest." And she's like listening, and it does. It eases. The guy takes down his shield, and then it's like he's yelling. He's like, "You gotta arrest her. She's gonna kill me. She's murdering me." Like all of this. He's like yelling. And then Augustus steps forward and is like, "Well, actually, Helen informed me that you just kidnapped her and Alexis and put them both in danger." Then other things come to light. 'Cause Alexis isn't sure what's happening. She felt that tightness in her chest and started easing. And so how the all of the top leaders come in. So Hades walks over, how Zeus walks over, and like, what is going on? So Patroclus stands up. And Alexis is a little confused and concerned at the look that's on his face. And he's like, "Well, what just happened?" And he explained again that the heir there kidnapped both Alexis and Helen and took them and were trying to kill them. And he was like, "And we also see here that Alexis has powers that can harm Spartans. But we know that that's not true. It can kill them, which isn't something that should be possible. Spartans are not supposed to be able to die. They can only go into comas. But she has a power that can kill Spartans. New and dangerous." And this is important to know because if we go back to the backstory of this entire thing, war broke out between the Symphonics and the Olympians for power. And the Symphonics have a stronger power, just not the numbers. So now you have a Symphonic child who has the power to actually kill Spartans, which means she could be killing Olympians, which means she ups the level of the game and could win Symphonics the game, the war, if you will. So she's starting to realize all of this. She's also starting to realize that Augustus and Charon already knew about this power early on. And this also gets revealed when they were like, "Oh, okay, well, we have to save her honor by marrying her because she went into the crucible." And somewhere in there, she finds out that she's Hades and Persephone's long lost daughter named Hercules. She was abandoned in the woods. She fought off whoever tried to get her. The dude came back, who was like the messenger, came back to Zeus, like she died. And Zeus is actually the godfather of Alexis, also known as Hercules now. And so all of that's unfolding. But then after that, they're like, "Oh my God, a Symphonic heir, a female heir, just participated in the crucible, which is a dishonor for women. We must save her honor. We have to marry her. I propose a marriage in my house." That's what Zeus says. And he's like, there is no way that I'm going to let my daughter, when I just got back, be married to the guy, as in the heir of Zeus, House Zeus, to be married to him when he just tried to kill her. Absolutely not happening. And Zeus is like, "Well, it doesn't have to be him. I was just saying, like, I think that's how we could work it out, you know?" And Augustus and Karen, well, that's going to be a problem. They say that's going to be a problem because she's already engaged. And she's like, "I am? When did this happen?" And they walk forward. Well, actually, Karen walks forward and he's like, "Me and my partner have sent the gifts needed in order to do the engagement, and she has accepted them." And they go into detail, the 2 boxes were sent. Both had the diamonds, both had the evidence that they could provide accurate and adequate protection, which are the body parts that killed 2 of those guys. They also provided clothing off of their backs with a skull hoodie. They provided a blanket, which counted for something else. I think maybe a personal belonging or something like that, sign of comfort. And she accepted all of them, and she did accept all of them. Technically, she opened the boxes, she wore the sweatshirt, she cuddled in the blanket, but she didn't know who sent them. She had no idea who sent them. So we find out that all of this leads up to her being tricked into this marriage because of the whole marriage law that Karen and Augustus have to follow because they have to get married to an Olympian to try to weaken their powers and their numbers because of this entire war that's going to happen between Olympians and Synthonics. And so this is their loophole to trick Alexis Hurt into becoming her husbands. So and then Zeus is like, okay, well, who's this partner that you speak of? And Augustus walks forward because they have their own bond. And Alexis Hart at this point is just like internally screaming, like, no, this cannot possibly be happening. She's like, still really like, I have symphonic powers. They knew about it. They tricked me this entire time. They were never talking about my mentor's lies. They're talking about mine. She's getting really freaking angry at this point in her brain. She's over it and exhausted. And so they're like, okay, she opened these powers and these open these presents, and they're like, Hades turns to his daughter, and he's like, "Is this true?" Because Patroclus has the power to know if someone's telling the truth. So like he touched both Augustus and Karen. It was like they're telling the truth. But Hades turned to Alexis, also Hercules, also his daughter, and was like, "Hey, is like, did this happen? Like, are you okay? Like, we can get if this isn't true, like, we can fix it." She's like, thinking she's like, no, this is actually this is true. In her background, she's like, I didn't know about it, but yes, this is true. And so right then they're like, okay, perfect, you're gonna get married. And she just looks so sad and so distraught and like, why is this happening? But then houses Zeus there. It's like, well, since she is a synthonic, this means that she has to compete in the assembly of death and training and all of that. And both Augustus and Karen burst out. They're angry. They're like, "There's no way any wife of ours is going to compete in that horrible thing. Like it's just not like they're." And she's like, and Alexis in the background's like, "I'll do it," but no one's listening to her because House Zeus is over here. Zeus is all like, well, technically, she doesn't have to under title and article, whatever. And she finally yells out, I will do it. She's over men speaking for her. She's over people speaking for her. She's like, I'm going to do it. Like I said, I'll flip and do it. She actually swears because that's one of the things she wanted to learn how to start swearing out loud. And she's like, I will freaking do it. And everyone just kind of turns at her. And now she's over all of it. She's over her husbands to be. She's over the fact that she just found her real mom and dad. She misses Charlie because Charlie's still halfway across the world. So she does the teleportation system again. She whispers that word, Domus, and she's gone. Poof. Back to her home where she grew up. She starts walking through the Titan protected zone, trying to find Charlie. She's yelling out for Charlie. Charlie's like, Alexis? And they meet, they hug, they reunite, they talk, they do the whole bonding thing. And she tries to explain. Then the next morning, her lovely mentors and her husband Steve show up and they're like, who the actual heck is this? Who is this right now? And Charlie's being protective. He's always protective, but he's extra protective because he has no idea who these people are. And she's like, Charlie, I need to talk to them. And he's like not moving. And she's like, Charlie, I need to talk to them. So he kind of like moves over and she's like, um, and they're like, all right, well, time to go. So Augustus hoists either Augustus or Charon hoist her over their shoulder and she's walking and they're walking. She's like, I will never forgive any of you if you leave him here. I will never, ever, ever talk to any of you ever again if you do not take my brother with us. Like she's dead serious. Like she's over it. She's like, I can't do this. You all cannot, like, you have to take him. She's making a whole thing. And Augustus is like, I already knew you had a brother. We're taking him. Chill. So they take their brother, and then we skip forward and see them at the wedding, which they have a very intimate scene at the very end. An entire hour, which will be referred to back and earlier in the book when they were like after the symphoniism, and she's playing around with the sirens, and Augustus has her over his shoulder. He's like an hour punishment. The hour punishment comes in after they get married. So they get married. Everyone kind of looks concerned. Who knows her? Like Charlie looks a little concerned. The mentors are pissed Patroclus is looking like he's gonna tear something down. Achilles has his hand on his chest, like holding him back. Basically, has to wrestle him out of the room as soon as things are done. And so they get married, they get bonded. So everyone has bond on their chest now in their heart, and it like squeezes. It's like like thing. So they're like together for eternity. Like they can't just unbond, basically. And try to get her mind to turn off. They do the hour punishment. The hour punishment has an orgasm involved. So that happens. And when she finally goes to bed, she's like, they created the monster and now they're going to get one. And that is how we know we're getting another book. And the another book is coming out October 28th. And I cannot wait because there's so much feminine rage. I'm excited to see Unleashed. Like, I am so excited to see her come into her powers and her confidence and just absolutely obliterate everybody. Plus, we see a scene in there where Achilles and Patroclus are having a moment because Patroclus is like, that's our mentee. Like, she was supposed to be, and then she suddenly became more, and she was supposed to be ours. Like, and Achilles is like, don't worry, because he only signs. He's like, don't worry, she is ours. She just doesn't know it yet. So yeah, the fourth book, I think a lot of us are super excited. I was just talking to somebody in my book club about it, and they were like, October 28th could not come fast enough. And I totally couldn't agree more because I'm just like, I've been waiting for so long. I'm so excited. So Bonds of Hercules is the second book. It's coming October 28th, and we get to continue this lovely adventure with Alexis Hurd, her husbands, and her mentors, past mentors, and the assembly death plus war tensions. I'm beyond excited. So that is what's coming in October. And that is what I have for this final book review. Thank you guys so much for listening and doing the things, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.